I like trivia.
I especially like the type of trivia that doesn't necessarily require any previous knowledge of the answer in order to be able to discover the correct answer. For example, my uncle introduced me to this game from 1995 called Origins. Origins' tagline is the game that unlocks the secrets of our past. One example of a card from this game, they provide the category name, and the description states this game originally played outdoors between a lane of buildings and city dwellings. The name of the original location has remained, even though it is now played exclusively indoors. Now, thinking through this, I didn't immediately know the answer, but thinking about some of the context provided, it says outdoor between a lane of buildings. So I started thinking about lanes. What games has lanes? Well, bowling has lanes. And what is a lane between buildings? It's an alley, also another bowling term. So I figured the answer must be bowling alleys. Sure enough, that's the answer. So one day, while after playing Origins with my family, I decided to buy a copy of this game for myself. The only trouble is, the game's no longer made. There are other similar games out there. There's plenty of trivia out there, and I even found an original used copy of the game Origins on eBay, which I bought. But I had another idea. Why not use ChatGPT to create trivia for me? This way, not only can I customize the trivia to meet my personal preferences, but there's a seemingly never-ending source of content once I come up with the proper input for ChatGPT. Not only that, but we're going to have ChatGPT output a list using an Excel format that I can then use to create a user form in Excel that will use this list and randomly pull a card so that I can review the category, the description, just by pushing a button. And I can have it hide the answers, so I can have it show me the answer only when I want to reveal it. That way, the person reading the card can actually play along with us. So our first step is let's send ChatGPT our first input, which I've already written. And a couple things to note here is what I've done is I've given ChatGPT some context. I would like to create a trivia game where the answer to clues given are common words, phrases, or sentences where the original meaning is no longer common knowledge. The game should include cards that give a category like cliches, expressions, products, etc. And the description tells the origin of the word, phrase, or sentence without giving too much information as to make it easy to guess, and also without providing too little information as to make it impossible to guess from context. Here's where I think I have found using ChatGPT the best way to get some answers is to start make it iterative. So here I've asked, I would like you to suggest up to 10 categories, then create one example one example per card per category that includes the category, description, and answers. I've also told ChatGPT, before you respond, ask me any clarifying questions you may have. So this is going to do a couple things. One, it's going to give me those examples so I can go through and review. I've given it some examples of categories I'd like to use, cliches, expressions, products, etc. I'm going to ask it to come up with 10 because maybe there are some I haven't thought of. Then I'm going to have it give me one example per card. That way I can go through and review not only how did the categories perform, but what are the clues that ChatGPT is providing. Again, maybe it's going to provide too much information as to making it too easy or too little. So I can kind of tweak it once I see what ChatGPT is going to give me. I also ask ChatGPT to ask me any clarifying questions before giving me a response. That's going to give me an opportunity to feed back into ChatGPT anything I might have missed. So let's go ahead and see what it thinks. Okay, it's telling me it thinks it's a fantastic idea. Here are the 5 clarifying questions it's going to ask me. Okay, so I've given it my second response, and here are the categories: cliches, expressions, products, occupations, idioms, games and sports, customs and traditions, pop cultures, historical events, science and technology. Great. Now it's also going to give me the example cards. I think these are going to be good enough to start just looking through these. So it's going to ask me, would you like me to create more cards or refine these examples further? I'm going to say that this is good enough. And now what I want it to do is create some more example cards for us. So now what this should do, this usually takes a little bit more time when it's generating a file, and sometimes it even errors out. So let's see what happens after it's done analyzing. But this should give me an Excel file that we can then begin to create our user form and game from. Well, that kind of worked. Unfortunately, it only did the first 5 categories. So, okay, and now we have the others. So I'm going to combine these really quickly. Just cut from the first file, paste there. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Okay, I've got all my categories, descriptions, and answers in here. Just I'm going to add a filter so I can filter these as desired, and then I'm also just going to freeze the top row so I can kind of still see those categories up here at the top. Now, I am going to begin on some of the VBA. So I'm going to open the Visual Basic tab, and then I'm going to move this over to my other window. You won't be able to see it, but don't worry, you don't need that. There's nothing in book 1, so I can close that out. Okay, I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to insert a user form because we're going to create a user form for this, and I also need a module. In the module, I'm just going to initially create a subroutine to open the user module. So I'll just call it game button, and right now it's just called user form 1.show, and that's just going to open my user form. We're going to keep this pretty simple to start, but I have lots of ideas on how to make this bigger and better. But again, let's start small. So we'll put a label here, and I'm going to set my fonts real quick. So for the entire user form, I like Arial, just what I'm used to, regular size 12. We will give this form a name. And I came up with the name Context Clues. I think that's a fun game name, and we'll go ahead and call this Context Clues as well, which means we now need to change this to contextclues.show. We'll go back to my object here, and I'm going to add my first label, which is going to be the category. Go ahead and copy that and there, and we'll call this one description. And then the last one we're going to add in here, somewhere down here, probably answer. Okay, and then we're going to add a text box. Go ahead and make it nice and wide. Categories aren't going to be huge, but we'll start big and we can always make it smaller later. And then description, we're going to need, some of these descriptions might be rather long, so let's give it that much. And then we also need to go in here and make sure, let's forget what this is, multi-line. It's also, I always think that it's word wrap. True, it's not. It's multi-line if you want to have your text go in each row instead of just going off the edge and being invisible. And then finally, we'll move answer down here, and we'll copy paste. Okay, and I already know I want to have a few buttons on here. One is just going to be next card, and then we're going to have one that's going to be show answer. Make that a little bigger, and then finally we'll have a quit. Okay, and I'm not going to worry too much about the aesthetics of this. I will just tidy it up a little bit for now. But again, we're probably going to be making some changes here, so I'm not going to spend too much time making it look nice. But we'll at least center things. Okay, let's get to some of the code. Now, I am not a programmer, but I do like to write VBA every once in a while. So what I have done is I created another Excel file that I call Common Scripts. This is where I save a lot of my forms and scripts and details. It's actually a work in progress, but this way I can come in here and, for example, I have this user form activate code. So I'm going to take it from there, put it here, uncomment it, and then without going into too much detail, this is just centering the user form on your screen. And then I'm going to clear that out. And I also need to, upon reading this, I need to, upon opening this, I need to get the last row. So my last row here, code, back here. So the trivia game card that I'm going to be doing, pull that back over here for a second. We're going to rename this as list, and then we're actually going to create a new sheet, and we're going to call this the game. And actually, we'll call it context clues. So on the list tab, that's where we're going to have all of the categories, descriptions, and answers. We may even hide this tab later. I don't know. Just depends on how fancy we want to make it. So up here, name that list. It needs to be lists, or I could change it here, I guess. But and then we're going to count the rows in column 1, which is indicated here. And this is going to let me know where the last row is. In this case, it's going to be 51 because that's the last row that is not blank in column A. Okay, now we want to randomize. And this is a VBA code. I don't know exactly what it does, to be honest. I just always have put this in front of code where I am going to then create a random number. And I also need to look up my random number, okay, I went ahead and looked that up real quick and input this line of code. So rand row is going to be our integer where we store a random number, and it is going to, this is really common if you look it up. This will tell you where to put the upper bounds, which is going to be, again, my last row, and then the lower bounds, we want to start at row 2 because row 1 is going to have the header information. And then we are going to take that information and we are going to pull the data out of the spreadsheet itself. So we're going to be looking at category in column A. So we're looking at column A and random row dot value. So we want to look at the category, the description, and the answer in those rows. And we want to put those in our text box, which are context clues dot text box 1. And then that's going to put that random row for column A in text box 1. And then we're going to put column B in text box 2 and column 3 in, or column C in text box 3. So if I hit play, drag this over. So this popped up in the Excel window where I told it to here. So it did not pop up on this monitor. And now I've lost it. So as you can see, this already pulled up the category, description, and answer in this, but we haven't done anything with these buttons. So the answer is visible at all times. Also, looks like some of the text is getting cut off, so maybe we want to make these boxes a little bigger. And then here you can see next card does nothing, nor does show answer, nor does quit. So we'll close that out. And I said really quickly, let's go ahead and raise the height on these. Here's height. The height is 20. Let's make, or 18. Let's make them 20. See what that looks like real quick. Okay, that looks a little better, I think. So we'll close that out. Okay, now we can create really quickly to go to next card. So now Command button 1. I can even comment. It's probably the better way to do it. Next clue. And then show answer. And then finally quit. This one's the easiest one. So this is just unload me. And that way when you click the button, it'll close that, that dialog window. So next card is essentially, we're literally just doing this again. So what we really should do, potentially, be a better option, is to create its own subroutine to call the next card. I don't have anything called that just yet. And then we'll go ahead and move that to here. And we can even create a public, let's do it here. Public last row as integer. And then that way when we open this, this last row should be a public variable and be able to be used in these other subs. Now, we moved that, so now we have to call it, and we'll go ahead and also call that when we click the button. Okay, let's try this. But now I should be able to click next card, and each time it is going to call that next card routine and give me a new category description and answer. So show answer, you can still see does nothing. Quit closes that dialog out. And then what did I say? We want show answer. So one way to do this is, there's probably a million ways to do this. You could change the background of this. You could change the foreground color. And I think that's what I'm going to do, is just change the text color so that when it originally pops up, the text is white on a white background, therefore you can't see it. And then when I show the answer, I will have it changed to black text. Okay, so I got that, and it's essentially, you're just looking at the text box and you're changing the foreground color to VB white. I'm doing that upon user form activation. And actually, now I'm realizing that's probably not the place to do it. Let's take it out of there. We'll do that on next card before we put anything in there. And then when we show the answer, we're just changing that to black. So now, and now it is working. So text is black, and if I show the answer, we get that, and then we go to next card, and we can move on. I added a fourth button that can read the category and description aloud by pulling the information in text box 1 and 2, putting them in these variables, and then I create a string here that says the category, reads the category, and then the description, and then use the application.speech.speak function to read that string. And the last thing we're going to do is create a just kind of a home screen here. So this is going to be context clues is the name of my game, and then journey through origins. Journey through origins of speech. I don't know. Maybe it's a little cheesy, but this is just for fun. I'm going to change the background of this to black. I want my font color to be yellow. Then it's Algerian. All of it. I don't know, just for fun. Make it large, centered. This even bigger. And then from the developer tab, if you insert a button here, And then we'll select our only subroutine that can be called, which was that right here in module 1, that context clues.show, and then start game. And we'll go ahead and make that large. Okay, and we are done. I'll go ahead and save this, and then now we have our lists here, but we could even hide that tab. Our game is begun from this start button, and we click it. The window is going to pop up in roughly, it's supposed to be centered, but I think it's centered to the edge. So maybe you want to tweak that code in the user form activate here to do some different math. But I'm happy with this, and this is going to show me my card. Again, I can show the answer. I can click on next card, and if I use that speech function that we just added, it should read it aloud.
The category is customs and traditions. This term for honoring someone originates from ancient Roman rituals of throwing garlands to victors.
Interesting. I don't think I'm going to be able to guess this one. Let's see what it is. Crown with laurels. That's a term. Okay, I might mark that one as not so good when we go back and rate those lists in order to feed it back into ChatGPT. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, what you'd like to see more of. I do have a lot of fun making games in Excel, weirdly. So I've made things like Minesweeper, Yahtzee, randomizers for various things, a coin flipper. Let me know what you'd like to see, and if this is interesting to you, please do leave me a comment. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.